Well, good morning, students. In the previous class, we discussed about the need of the industrial design. Okay, we discussed about the need of the industrial design, and next we discussed about the important subcomponent. The topic was the impact of the industrial design. Okay, impact of the need of the industrial design and impact of the industrial design on the product development. Okay, then we also discuss about the how the corporate identity is going to be increased by the industrial design. That also we discussed in detail. So the next today we'll discuss about the industrial design process. Industrial design process, that is nothing but we need to discuss about the various steps involved in the industrial design. Okay, so as you know that in very big companies, for example, if you consider Mercedes, BMW, Apple, Motorola, they are very big companies. Okay, they are keeping a separate department as industrial design department. Product development department is separate and industrial design department is separate. Okay, so those big companies keeping separate department as industrial design, whereas smaller companies, they are going for consulting. So there are in the market, there are consultants for industrial design. Okay, these small companies, they develop their product based on the principle of product development. Then they give it for the industrial design for the form, shape and style and aesthetic aspects. They give for they outsource that activity. Okay, like this the industries carry out their product development. In big companies, they have a separate department. If there are smaller companies, they give it for the consulting group. Okay, they separate industrial design consultants will be that they get the new shape or the style or the form or the anything, they get it back to the product. Okay, so whatever it may be, what are the design process involves? Okay, the first step of the industrial design is investigation of the customer's needs. That's the first step. Second step is conceptualization. The third step is preliminary refinement. Fourth step is further refinement and final concept selection. Fifth step is control drawings and models. And the sixth step is coordination with the engineering, manufacturing and external vendors. That is the sixth step in the industrial design process. Okay, so in the examination they ask you to identify the industrial design processes or industrial design phases. So you need to identify these 6 steps and you need to write down. Well, we'll consider the first step of the industrial design process, that is investigation of the customer needs. The product development team begins by documenting customers' needs. Okay, we know that in the 4th chapter of this PDD, we collected the customer requirements, customer needs and tabulated in a matrix table. Okay, so that has to be collected. And industrial designs are skilled in recognizing the issues involving the interactions. Okay, the ID involvement is crucial in the needs process. Okay, the ID industrial design plays a very important role in identification of the interactions. Okay, the interactions with respect to the product. Okay, then particularly the industrial design, they are expected to gain an intimate understanding of the interfaces between the user and the product. So in industrial design, they bother about the interfaces of the product with customers. You remember this. Okay. The other requirements of the product development, the PDD engineers, they bother about that. But industrial designer, they specifically bother about the customer needs and requirements with respect to the interactions of the customer with respect to the product. So where the industrial designers plays a very important role. Okay. So unlike many development efforts, the Razor project did not rely heavily upon the focus groups on the formal market research. Okay, as you know that how the industrial designers involved in building a new Razor flip small low weight very thin mobile to the market in a very short span, where even Motorola was also not imagined about the product. So the Motorola research, also the consumer perception about the quality of the mobile phones, revealed that while lightweight was the desirable, okay, the lightweight is a customer need. They wanted a very lightweight mobile, and phone density was the critical item to be considered by the industrial designers. How to reduce the weight of the mobile of the Motorola which was the customer need of the product. So this is how, what is the role of the PDD in customer identification, and what is the role of the industrial designer with respect to customer needs. That all to be discussed in the investigation of the customer needs phase. That is the first phase of the industrial design process. Then second stage is conceptualization. Once the customer needs and constraints are understood, the industrial designer helps the team to conceptualize the product. Okay, once they understand, you know what is conceptualization. I don't have to tell in detail again, because we discussed as a chapter the conceptualization. Okay. During the concept generation, the stage engineers naturally focus their attention upon finding the solution to the technical sub-functions of the product. So in the product designers, okay, they concentrate about the technical sub-functions of the product of the customer needs. Okay, while the industrial designers concentrate on creating the product's form, size, shape, and interface. See the classification of the product designer and industrial designer. Okay, the industrial designer, they concentrate specifically about the sub-functions of the product. Okay, whereas industrial designer concentrate about the customer needs, about the size, shape, form, ergonomic aspects, and the interface. Okay, these are all the areas of the customer needs where the industrial design concentrates. Okay, based on this, both together in bigger companies, they mix both the sub-functions as well as the interfacing of the industrial designers concepts, and they develop the product. Okay, and they conceptualize how their product should be. So to have this, the industrial designers, they usually involve in making the simple sketches. Industrial design, usually they involve in making simple sketches. That sketch is known as thumbnail sketches. This is also one of the PDD tool used by industrial designers or the product developers, okay, to represent the customer requirements in the form of conceptual drawings. So that is called as thumbnail sketches. Okay, and it's going to be drawn by the industrial designer for each of the concepts of the developed for the customer needs. Then and it is a very inexpensive medium for expressing the ideas and evaluating the possibilities of industrial design. Okay. Then the proposed concept may be then matched and combined with the technical solutions. Okay, so these concepts have to be combined with the technical solutions. Okay, then we can do an exploration. Okay, then it is unfortunately that some of the companies, the industrial design, work quite independently. Okay, quite independently from the engineering. When this happens, the industrial designers are likely to propose a concepts involving strictly form and style, and there are usually numerous iterations when the engineering finds the concepts technically infeasible. Then there is an issue, there is a problem. Okay, the lot of iterations, these industrial designers evolved with a new style, shape, size, aesthetic, ergonomic style for the product. Okay, when we submit these concepts to the industrial designers, okay, they feel that all these accommodating these things, concepts of the industrial designers, they feel that it is infeasible once it is being submitted to PDD engineers. Then there is a big issue, and there is a big fight between the industrial designers and the product designers. So in this context, so the most of the companies were big companies, as I told you, that they have a separate department, an industrial department, the industrial design department. They coordinate with the product development department since beginning. If they coordinate since beginning of the concept generation with the PDD engineers, these industrial designers, in the beginning itself of the product development, and at the end, there will not be conflict between the concepts of the industrial designer and the concepts of the product designers with respect to functions, and this is with respect to interfaces. There is no conflict. Okay, that's why very big companies like BMW, Apple, Razor, Mercedes, okay, the Motorola, these companies involve, okay, the industrial designer and product designer departments together, and they work together from the beginning to the end. Okay, the coordination is most important. And the third, well, we discuss about the third step of the industrial design process, that is called as the preliminary refinement. Preliminary refinement. So in this preliminary refinement phase, the industrial designers build models of the most promising concepts. So those are called the soft models. Okay, so this is also the other tool of the industrial designers, called as soft models, building soft models. Okay, they are the promising concepts which the industrial designer thinks with respect to the customers. Okay, they made in full scale using foam or foam core board. Okay, these soft models are built using foam or foam core board, and these are the second fastest method, only the slight slower than the sketches, but they are used to evaluate the industrial designer concepts. Okay, so although these quite rough, these models are invaluable because they allow the development team to express and visualize the product concepts in 3 dimensions. Okay, the concepts are evaluated by the industrial designers and engineers and market personnels and the customers through the process of touching, feeling, and modifying the models. So that is known as the preliminary refinement, the third phase of the industrial design process. Then fourth phase of the industrial design process is the further refinement and final selection of the concept. Okay, so in this stage the industrial designer often switch from soft model and sketches to the hard models. See, the hard model is the third tool used, or the technique or the tool used by the industrial designers. Okay, and this depict the product in use. Okay, draw in 2 or 3 dimensions, they convey the great deal of information about the product. Okay, the rendering product. Okay, so they are called as the and these models, hard models, are called as renderings. The renderings, they shows the details of the design, and often they predict the product in use also. Again, they are in the form of 2 dimensions or they are in the form of 3 dimensions. These hard models, they are also calling it as a renderings. Okay, and they convey a great deal of information about the product. And renderings are often used for color studies and testing the customer reception to the proposed product features and functionality. See, these hard models or the renderings are used for gathering the customer feelings about the models which they are developed. Okay, the final step in this is before selecting the concept, they create the hard models, and these models are technically non-functional, yet they are close to the replica of the final design and with a very realistic look and feel. Even though they are non-functional, but they looks like real models which are expected in future. Okay, and they are made from the wood and the dense and the foam and the plastic or the metals. So these are all called the hard models. The previous things are the renderings. Okay, these are the hard models. So the hard models used for the final selection of the concept. Understand? And the razor company has also used a lot of these wooden models or the metal models, okay, especially for the final selection of the razor models in the company. Then the fifth step is control drawing signed models. Okay, the industrial designers complete their development process by making control drawings. Okay, they are the control drawings or control models of the final concept. They develop the control models or the control drawings only for the final concept which has been selected. Remind it. Okay, the control drawings of the models document functionality, features, sizes, colors, surface finish, and key dimensions of the product. Okay, although they are not detailed part drawings, they can use to fabricate the final design models and other prototypes. Okay, typically these drawings or models are given to the engineering team for the detailed design of the parts. Okay, so that is the fifth step. Well, then sixth step, okay, the coordination with engineering, manufacturing, and external vendors. The industrial designers must continue to work closely with engineering, product development engineering, manufacturing, marketing people, and also through the external vendors throughout the development process. Okay, some industrial design consulting firms offer quite a comprehensive product development services, including detailed engineering, design, and selection, and the management of outside the vendor of the materials, tooling, components, and assembly services. Okay, so the sixth step is coordination of industrial designer is the most important with respect to PDD, with respect to market, with respect to customers in the market is very important. Okay, so these are all the six phases of industrial product design process. Okay, Then the impact of computer-based tools on industrial design process is a separate headline of the topic. So what is the effect? So nowadays we have a lot of softwares, CAD, computer design. Okay, so using these tools, they have made a very significant impact on the industrial design and their work. Okay, these reduced the lot of investment in building the prototype models which we used in the phase 3 or 4 or 5 of the industrial design process. Okay, these CAD software has impacted a lot and reduced a lot of investment in creating and building the models using hard modeling tools. Okay, so we can simulate the 3D models can be built using this software. So the 3D modeling is something like a boon for the industrial design, now to simulate their ideas, their conceptual ideas in connection with the size, shape, aerodynamic shapes, aesthetics, ergonomic styles, and interfaces in connection with the customer requirements. So they can simulate using these computer drawings. That's why we call it as a boon, the CAD drawings for the industrial designers. So then we discuss the another head title of the industrial design chapter, the management of the industrial design process. The management of industrial design process. The industrial design typically involves the overall product development process during the several different phases. The timing of the industrial design effort depends upon the nature of the product being designed. When this industrial design has to enter into the product development, so this is dependent on the nature of the product being designed. Okay, so the industrial design effort considers, classifies the nature of the product to be developed. Is the one is the technology driven product, and the other one is the user driven products. Okay, we will discuss what you mean by the technology driven products. Okay, well, the technology driven products. See, the primary characteristics of the technology driven product is that the core benefit is based on the technology. So they embed the technology into the product to meet the customer requirements. Okay, and these technology driven products, they bother about the functionality or the technical task to be accomplished by the product. Okay, while such a product may have the important aesthetic ergonomic requirements, consumer will most likely to purchase the product primarily on the technical performance. Here the marketing people, the customers, they are intended to buy the product based on the product's technology rather than the size and shape. They give the secondary importance for that. The primary, they wanted technology in the product, that is in the functionality of the product. So that's why the technology driven products, where the customers are intended to buy the products on the technology rather than the aesthetic appeal of the product. Here the role of the industrial designer is very limited. Here the role of the industrial designer is very limited in case of the technology driven product. Then consider the user driven products. See, the core benefits of the user driven products is derived from the functionality of its interface and aesthetic appeal. Okay, here they bother about the aesthetic appeal and the interfacing of the product with respect to user. So these are the two important factors that to be considered in the user driven products. So typically these are the high degree of user interface for these products. Accordingly, the user interfaces must be safe, easy to use, and easy to maintain. Okay, they are called the user interface. The user expects the product user interface in the form of shapeness, easiness, and maintenance of the equipment. The product external appearance is often important to differentiate the product and create a pride of the ownership in this case of user driven product. And in this user driven product, the industrial designer plays a very important role. Okay, so again I differentiate the technology driven products. They bother about the technology. The customer buying depends upon the technology what is there in the product rather than its aesthetic. That's why the industrial designers have got very limited role to play in technology driven products, whereas user driven, where user interface with respect to use, with respect to maintenance, okay, with respect to easiness, with respect to form, with respect to style, with respect to appearance is important in user driven products. Hence, in this case, the industrial designer plays a very important role in designing the product. The table or the exhibit 10.8 in the product design development book, okay, that is industrial design. So they have given the sketch, okay, they have classified technology driven products and user driven products. So the technology driven products, for example, supercomputers, the desktop, hard disk drives, okay, the laptops, automobiles, and mobile phones. Okay, the mobile phones, the laptops, and the automobiles, they lie in between technology driven as well as the user driven products. Those are the left hand side, that is supercomputers and desktops and hard drives, they are purely on the technology driven products. Whereas the office chairs, the wristwatches, and coffee makers, okay, they are all the user driven products. Okay, so this is what they wanted to differentiate the technology driven and user driven products available in the market. Then timings, the next important title is the timings of the industrial design involvement. Okay, they have given the sketch in the industrial design chapter, that is 10.9 exhibit, or the table, the graph, the sketch. Okay, where when the PDD, the industrial designer, come to play a role in the PDD development. You see the sketch. After the concept testing, the industrial designer comes and play, okay, in the technology driven products. So from the concept testing to the detailed design and testing and refinement, the industrial designer plays a very important role with respect to the technology driven products. Whereas user driven products, the industrial designer, they involve in the beginning of the customer identification itself, and till the detailed design is being done and tested and refinement will be done. That is nothing but the user driven products, the industrial designers involved with the PDD designers from the beginning and till the end of the PDD process with respect to the user driven products. So with this, okay, I completed the steps involved in the industrial design process and some of the important concepts given in the industrial designer with respect to industrial designer. You note down the questions. Okay, the first question: what are the steps involved in the industrial design process? And discuss in detail with the tools and techniques used by the industrial designer in every phases of the industrial design. Okay, this covers the tools, techniques, phases, everything together. Okay, that's why I framed the question like this. Okay, the tools and techniques. because I am interested in knowing whether the students knows the tools and techniques used in the industrial design process. Okay, the examples, the nail sketches, what is that called as? We discussed about thumbnail sketches, soft models, hard models, renderings are the tools and techniques used in this industrial design process. Okay, then next question, discuss the management of industrial design process with respect to technology driven products and user driven products. Next question, write a brief note on impact of computer based tools on the industrial design process. Next question, with neat sketch or the block diagram, explain timing of industrial design involvement in product development process. Okay, so these questions cover my presentation, what I did today. So all the students, you are expected to listen this YouTube video and pause it wherever you want to take the note, okay, and answer the question. Okay, see you, bye, take care.